when you purchase the template, this is what it looks like. All right, and let me just show you an overview on how to use this particular template. All right, the live gospel mixing template. All right, so it's very simple. I'm just gonna use some tracks, all right, from a praise worship session I have here. All right, so let me start with the kick in, kick out. I'm gonna drag them in. All right, so this is my kick in, my kick out. All right, then I'm gonna bring in my snare top. Here is the snare top and my snare bottom. All right, and then I'm gonna bring in my tom 1, 2, 3, and here is my tom top floor. Okay, my tom that has the floor, rather, what am I saying, the floor that has the top and the bottom. So I'm gonna drag all of them together. All right, I already exported them. I renamed them in the project they were recorded, and I exported them. All right, it's easier for you to drag your project that way into a new mixing window. Okay, rename your project. All right, so here are my drums, tom. Okay, so I'm just gonna take my bottom up. All right, exactly, and then my hats. All right, here is my hi-hat. Okay, and then my overheads left and right. I'm just gonna drag those two in here. Okay, so all my drums are in this window. All right, and I'm just gonna trigger using my kick in, Control D. All right, let me select that, Control D. All right, so when it comes up with an option like this, all right, you can choose the kick, the C1 kick 36. All right, you can use this, or you can use the default option that comes, the auto. All right, but let's use the C1 36 and just click OK. All right, and I'm just gonna drag this over to my trigger track. All right, and then I'll delete the one that was created. Just command delete. All right, and then let me confirm if it's triggering. Yes, it's triggering. All right, and I have samples that is coming with the pack, my special samples that I love to use. All right, and I selected this, the kick and the snare samples, my preferred kick and snare. I mixed them and made them ready for your use when you purchase these. All right, so you know that the template is coming with a trigger. Okay, trigger sample for both snare and kick. All right, so I'm just gonna copy this over to the second trigger track, and let me check. All right, so yes, it's triggering my tracks. All right, so let me put them together with the kick. All right, so this is actually really loud. I need to gain stage. That is what you do whenever you're mixing with a template. All right, you gain stage into your buses. All right, so this is way better. The compressor is not over pushing. All right, and I'm not hitting up to -6. -6 is the highest loudness you should reach in your buses. I indicated that. All right, so you gain stage. All right, so we're around -8. All right, that's good. -6. So I'll need to gain down my kick in and kick out again. Yes, this is a good place for the kick. And so the snare top. All right, that's loud, so you can either gain down your volume here if you don't want to touch your fader, or use the fader button. All right, so my snare is really loud. I'm gonna get down. Still very loud. All right, snare bottom. That's really loud in the mix. All right, so you see, you're just gonna need to gain down and make sure you're having a good gain, not your drum boss not cranking past -6. All right, so I'm gonna do the same. Control D on the snare to take it to the trigger tracks. Okay, so here is something I forgot to mention. All right, make sure you use the threshold to make sure it's picking up all your transients. All right, so if you feel there are samples that it's not picked, you use the threshold, take it up to make sure it's picking everything, or drop it down if it's picking things you don't want. Right, while I'm dropping, you see a lot of the samples are missing, but when I take it up, it's picking all the transients you can see. All right, so let me check. I have good hits. All right, I'm okay with this threshold. All right, so I said you can leave the auto or still use the kick C1 36. All right, but let me use the auto for this option. All right, and click OK. Then we'll still drag the MIDI track we just created down to the trigger track. Right, so let me check if it's triggering my snare. Yes, we are triggering. All right, so I'm gonna delete this and then I'll level. All right, remember we're again staging so we don't over crank up our buses. All right, so I think my trigger is really loud. I'm taking it down a bit. All right, why is my snare top not playing? All right, that's nice, a good place. I'm going to duplicate to the second trigger track. Yeah, that's a heavy snare. I'm going to turn that down. All right, so with the kick, I think we're about to get loud in here. So we're a bit loud. I'm gonna turn down everything. Let me use the mixer so I don't over turn down. I'm gonna turn it down. All right, this is a good place. We're hitting a good place in our buses, and I like. All right, the snare is sounding fat, and the kick, that's beautiful. And then the toms now, I like the gain of my toms. They are not over gained. All right, this is perfect. All right, let me check for where the toms are hitting. All right, so my toms are really loud. All right, so I'm gonna turn it down. Right, so my floor is a bit loud. I'm gonna turn my floor down. Yeah, so you see my toms sound great. Now they sound great together. All right, so I think they're still a bit louder than the kick and snare. Let me turn them down a bit. Alright, so we see it's about leveling. Alright, you're just gonna level in your drums to make sure they feel good. Alright, the bosses are sounding great. I like what it sounds like. Now let me hear my hi-hat. Alright, that's loud. I'm gonna turn the hi-hat down. Alright, so let me hear the overheads too. Alright, definitely loud. I'm turning down my overheads. Alright, so you can see how beautiful this drum sounds. My god. Alright, the overheads came in and gave it even more clarity. All right, so this is to your own taste. All right, if you feel you want to hear more of your kick, that's very okay. All right, I think I really want to hear a little bit more of the kick drum. I'm just gonna turn it down a bit. All right, nice. Let me just turn up my snares a little bit up. Right. So this is just to show you how to use the template. All right. This drum sounds great in my template. I love it. All right. So you're gonna do the same thing, dragging your bass, your percussions, your loops. All right. And in this particular template, I have percussions. Dragging your percussions in here, your bass, your guitars. If you have more than even four guitars, you can duplicate the track and just pan them out. All right. The bosses are good. You can check the aux. All right. If you have more aux than this, you can duplicate. All right. All you need to do is just Control D, duplicate, and you're good. All right. Now in the aux bus, I have my arpeggios separate because the arpeggios are a little bit percussive in nature. So I like to tame them separately from the strings and the pads. All right. So you can do that, including arpeggios and plugs, right? And if you want to pan some of your plugs, is okay. When I use plugins like Nexus or some sounds from Omnisphere, all right, those sounds are not. Sometimes they sound panned already. Some of them are automated, left, right, moving. All right. For stuff like that, you don't really need to pan. For some of your parts that sound spacious and atmospheric, you don't need to pan them. All right. Maybe some shimmer parts that actually sound a bit mono. If you have more than two, you can pan left, right. Okay, and here is a pad bus, but they're still all under the aux. All right, all routed to this bus. Okay, so it's your choice. You can duplicate if you have more auxes. Here is the FX bus. You can do the same, and the okay, here's the FX bus rather. And the keys, if you have your organ and Rhodes, you can duplicate this keys track, all right, and add your organ. It will still work. Now, why it will work is because most of the sounds we have nowadays are already cleaned out, all right. Even sounds coming from your boards, Motive, Montage, all right, Mod X, name them all, even the PSR keyboards by Yamaha, all right. Most of the sounds are clean. If they are recorded clean live, you can drag them in here and you're good. All you need to do is just cut out the little frequencies like I did in the bus here, nothing much. All right. And if you're using actual samples, most of those samples are already cleaned up. All right. Most of them are cleaned and well panned with reverb. So all you need to do when you're producing is to just have the right sound selected and you're good, honestly. Because our sample packs today, most of them are compressed already, cleaned out for us. All right. So your mics, you can drag in your lead mic. If it's two, that's okay. And then your BGV, soprano, altos, tenos, you can just drag them in. All right. Your room, right? And the room mics, you can do that. All right. I have five room mics here. You can add them in. If you just have left, right, you can add them here, left, right. If you have more, you can add them in. And then stem track, all right, I added this maybe for a live project, and maybe it was recorded left, right, and you don't really have the stems individually of all the percussions. You can just add your left, right stems here, all right. And then your talkback for bandcamp mixes, you can add your talkback mics if you want to hear what the MD is saying while directing the band. All right, you can do that. And here are your buses, your FX sense, drum verbs, lead verbs, and delays. All right, and chorus effects for backups and all that. Okay. And now to your BGVs is to your discretion, all right? If you're mixing live vocals and you want them to sound real, you can choose not to use the autotune, all right? But if maybe you're mixing studio recorded projects and you want to have autotunes, that's now to your taste. You can use the default pitch correct, all right? Pitch correction by Logic, all right? It's amazing, all right? I really love it. You can use that. Okay, or you can use from Anti's, Autotunes, anyone. All right, so our template is ready. This is just to show us how to use the gospel mix template. All right, it's just a step by step. It's about leveling. Make sure your bosses are not clipping. All right, it's very important. I had to do this video. All right, though I indicated it here, but it's very important that I do a video like this so that you should know. All right, so happy mixing, and I hope you enjoy using these templates, and I look forward to having us have more templates coming up subsequently for other genres of music, probably hip hop, Afro beats, yeah, and stuff. right? But for the gospel mix templates, it's very important, right? So that you can have a fast flow of having your songs released, all right? So see you soon.